Online with Life Point Church and Celebrate Recovery. We're excited that you've joined us tonight. We hope that you are ready to worship God a little bit. Here we go. Sun is shining on a new day. Soul's alive, cause my sins you cast away. Down by the river, I was redeemed. When your love washed over me. When your love washed over me. Oh, 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 oh. The sun is rising, learn the pain. I traded dirty rags in your name, and in that moment my soul could sing. When your love washed over me, when your love washed over me, like water you poured out, your grace covered me. When your love, oh your love, when your love washed over me. Is over, I found my home. My cup is overflowed. With you I thirst no more. There on the river I found victory. When your love washed over me, like water you poured out, your grace covered me. When your love, oh your love, when your love washed over me. When your love, when your love, when your love washed over me. When your love, oh your love, when your love washed over me, like water you poured out, your grace covered me. When your love, oh your love, when your love washed over me. When your love washed over me, like water you poured out, your grace covered me. When your love, oh your love, when your love washed over me. When your love washed over me. He washed over me. Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us online. I have to say that I absolutely love our worship, but it's just not quite the same without all of you here. I do want to say thank you so much for joining us online again. We really appreciate your support, and we are trying to do everything we can to make you feel connected. And I know this is different, but we're here for you. We are going to be continually telling you to reach out to us. We are here, and I know recovery is hard when we're here, but it's really hard when we don't get to be here. Tonight would be our night to celebrate sobriety dates of freedom from your hurt, habit, or hang-up with giving out coins or chips. And I want to tell you that we want to get those to you. So on this video, if you will comment what you're celebrating, send us a private message and give us your information. We will tell you if we can send it to you, or you can come by the office and pick up your coin and your chip. We do want to celebrate those things. Every celebration is important. Today is my daughter's 6th birthday, so that's important for me today. I have a friend that's getting ready to hit an anniversary here at the end of the month for sobriety, and those are important. We don't want to forget those in this time. You're doing a great job. please keep reaching out to us. We are here for you. You can call the office. You can come by. We might talk to you through the glass, but you can still come by and see us every once in a while. We'll wave to you. We love you guys, and we hope that you enjoy this service. And for later here, pretty soon, we're going to hear a message from Daryl, and that's going to be awesome. If you want to join us, we're going to continue to worship, and I hope that you're enjoying this in your living room or wherever you're watching from. Thanks again for joining us.
I count on one thing, the same God who never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yes, I will lift you high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will. I count on one thing, the same God that never fails will not fail me now. You won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. You high in the lowest valley. Yes, I will bless your name. Yes, I will sing for joy when my heart is heavy all my days. Oh, yes, I will. And I choose to praise, to glorify, glorify the name of all names. Nothing can stand against. I choose to praise. God, we're going to praise you through this time. We're going to praise you in this strange world that we live in right now. And God, we just put our faith and our trust in you. God, we love you. We love the name that is above all names. We believe that you are working all things for our good. And God, we love you today. We love you tonight. We thank you. For I spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. For I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Yeah. Was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. And I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. Been so, so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. lose the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to thank you for this church. For the worship team, for the staff that comes and gives their time so that we can do these videos. Lord, I want to thank you for the fact that we are able to do these videos. Lord, I want to thank you for that song. Lord, if there's anyone that's watching tonight, that if they don't know you, or maybe they're struggling, Lord, that they will listen to that song and see that you are fighting for them, even when it doesn't feel like it. That you're helping them. You're knocking down those walls. Lord, I just ask you to be with us tonight. Be with me as I bring this testimony of you and what you've done in my life. Lord, I ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'm excited tonight. I'm glad. I hope you're watching. And if you aren't, or you have a friend you know that isn't, have them watch. Share it. Because there's lots of people out there I know that are struggling, because I am. I miss my church family. I could get up here and say that the song that Nathan and the worship team and Carrie and all them and had sang, I could just say that that was my life and be done, because it was. But God has given me a testimony to share about him, and I'm going to. My name is Daryl Bennett. I'm a faithful believer in Jesus Christ that used to struggle with alcohol, but still struggle with many other addictions. I used to say I have an addictive personality, which a lot of people can relate to that. But I used to struggle with many things. I still struggle with some things. I used to struggle with self-worth. I used to struggle with never being good enough. Last week, Sarah talked about grace in her lesson. And I want to read that principle and the step again one more time so that you know what she talked about last week. Principle 6 says, evaluate all my relationships, offer forgiveness to those who have hurt me, and make amends for harm I have done to others, except when to do so would harm them or others. Happy are the merciful, Matthew 5:7. Happy are the peacemakers, Matthew 5:9. Step 9 says, made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go be reconciled to your brother. Then come and offer your gift. Matthew 5:23 through 24. So I'm going to start off in the beginning at birth. When I was born as a mistake. And I say that because my mom and dad, they were partiers, and they ran around and did a lot of stuff that most teenagers do that they probably shouldn't. But they didn't intend on having me. I was a mistake. And to go further for that mistake, we had, my grandfather decided that my mom and dad should get married. They forced them into this wedding that they didn't want. Well, they were married for a while and everything seemed to go all right. But then my mom and dad split up and my mom left. And she left me with my dad. And my dad at this time, he didn't know how to take care of a kid, so he gave me to my grandmother. He said, "Here, take him. I don't know what to do with him." So that started my life of being unwanted or worthless, not being good enough. So after that, the only way I could explain my life from there on was that it was like a trampoline. And it sounds kind of funny because trampolines are exciting and fun, but mine wasn't. And by this, I mean I parent jumped. I started my life off with my mother as a kid. We went to different schools and different houses. We even spent our time in Springfield moving from one house to one side of the town to the other. So I was in different schools even in the city of Springfield. So I didn't really make friends. I didn't really have a place to call home. But I did, while I was a kid, take care of my sisters because my mother was out a lot, hanging out, and she would bring different guys here to the house, and some of them she ended up marrying. So that started my life off very young with abuse from her husbands and abuse being done to my sisters and my mother. So my dad found out about this, and here we go jumping from one parent to the other. So I ended up, my dad coming and taking us. While this was happening, we were having fun. Dad was fun. We went and did things. We went to the rivers. It was fun for a while. Then we started always moving. And I didn't really know why we were until I got a little bit older. But I found out that my dad was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing, and he had to run from the law. So we were always hiding. But while I was with my dad, what was really exciting was we got to go to church. And I loved church. I think I really liked it because I got to eat. Because growing up, we didn't get a lot of food. We didn't have a lot of food. And so when I went to church, I got to eat. And it was exciting because kids love to eat. So while I was at this church, though, I made friends, and my sister made friends, and we got to go do things. And we were spending time at people's houses. We'd go to these people's houses, and it was exciting. This one place I went, they had an older son, and I got to play football with him, and I got to have it was exciting. We got to play in the woods. We got to do all this stuff, and then we'd go back to church that night and go home. And it was awesome. But then we got to start staying at night and got to sleeping over, and I slept in his room. And throughout this, I thought he was being a good friend to me, and I was making a buddy, but it ended up he was getting me closer and closer so that he could sexually abuse me. But I didn't like what was going on, but he told me that it happens, and this happens all the time. We just don't talk about it. All I knew is that it hurt me emotionally, physically, and I didn't want to deal with that anymore. So I told my dad I didn't want to go over there, but I couldn't tell him why because I was ashamed. So this goes on. I grow up. I become a teenager. I'm still at my dad's at this time, but things got worse. We were hiding more. We were doing stuff that we shouldn't do, and we always had to watch our backs. I can remember this one time that my dad come home, and he come up through our driveway and hit his car in the back, and I couldn't figure out why, but he come running in the house, and I wasn't very old at this time, but he had told me to hide behind the stove because there might be somebody coming to get us, and he told me to shoot whoever come through the front door. And at that time, it was hard. I just sat there crying and bawling because I didn't want to have to shoot somebody, but I knew if I didn't, they would probably kill me and my family. So I did what my dad said. Luckily, no one ever showed up. I think it was more his paranoia than anything. But then, while I was at my dad's, he started introducing me to alcohol because he said that, son, if you're going to drink, I'd rather you drink here with me than out with your friends and end up hurt. So that started my drinking addiction. But then shortly after that, my dad got worse and he kicked me out. This is where I jumped back to my mom's house. So when this happened, I was a little bit older and about almost to the time I could drive. So I moved back in with my mom, and it started a whole new thing with her husbands. They were still abusive. This was a new husband that was supposed to be better than the last, but it was still abuse, a lot of fighting. But at this time is when I realized I could just drink. Drink would kill the pain. If I kept drinking, I could kill that pain. But I kept doing this, and the pain would come back. And then it started not working. I would drink more and more, hoping that it would work, hoping that it would ease the pain, but it didn't. So then one day, I decided that I would go out into the woods where no one could find me. And I took my grandfather's old pistol. And I went out there, and I sat down on the ground by a tree. And I did this because at this point, I didn't want to become a man. If that's what a man was, an abusive person that hurt everybody, then I didn't want to be that. And at this time, I felt that God was a man, and why would God allow all this stuff to happen to me? I couldn't understand it. So I put the gun to my head, but it didn't go off. At that time, I didn't understand what was going on, but I did know now that God had different plans for me. And I remember a voice telling me, they need you. But that's what I thought. I thought, well, I needed to get up from here because my mom and my sisters needed me. So this kept happening, and the fights kept happening, and I've decided I would get away. So I joined the Marine Corps. But what I really was doing was running and hiding because I couldn't handle it anymore. This next part I got to say, I love how God works because the song tonight, the last song that Nathan was singing, goes right along with my life, like I said. But it says there's no mountain he won't climb up to come after you. Well, I got saved on the side of a mountain in California. And I want to tell you a little backstory on this. So when we're walking, or humping is what we called it up the mountain, we had a pack, an 80-pound pack on our back, and we had already hiked or humped 5 miles. And then we had to go up this hill 5 miles and then hump back down. So we had to do 20 miles in a day. And the rule was if somebody started getting behind, they were to grab the person in front of them's pack. Well, that puts burden on that person in front. And then it becomes harder and harder to do anything. I remember telling God at that time, because a guy had grabbed my pack, and I said, God, I can't do this by myself. So how am I supposed to help him get up this hill? And that's when I heard that voice again, they need you. And at that time is when I got saved. I told God, I said, if you'll help me get through this, I'll do whatever you want, if you will save me. I'd like to say everything was great. I got saved. It was all hunky-dory, but it wasn't. I did my time. I come home. I got home and I got baptized at September 29th, 1996, which was a great celebration. But it didn't stop there. I came home. I got a job. Then I played church. See, I'd go to church. I thought, hey, I've got to get into church. For all these things I've done bad, I need to work myself into heaven. And it goes along with those songs, and it goes along with grace. See, we always think we got to do all these works to make it, but it never works out. I still took care of my mom and my sisters, like always, but I was still drinking. My anger got worse. I started having no patience, and I started going down a spiral. During this time, I got married. I thought it was the greatest thing. Ended up that it wasn't that great. It was a bad deal. See, I got married for all the wrong reasons. But during this, I started preaching. I felt that God called me to preach, so I started preaching, and I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do, and I probably was at the time, but I wasn't doing it for the right reason. I was still trying to work my way into heaven. But during all this time, my mom died, and it broke my heart because I couldn't help her no more. See, I'd spent my whole life taking care of people and trying to fix people and protect people, but I couldn't do it anymore for her. And shortly after that, I got a divorce. And then I stopped preaching. Everything started falling apart. Everything started crumbling. During this time, I felt a lot of judgment. I felt self-worth grew more and more. I couldn't get out of it. So I chased alcohol and I chased women for the pain. I should have learned from the first time that this didn't work, but I kept doing it anyway. And I wasn't chasing after God like I was supposed to. I want to read Romans 12:2 for you. It says, "Don't let the world around you squeeze you into its own mold, but let God remake you so that your whole mind is changed." So now I want to talk about God. See, God was there through it all. He was there during my suicide. He was there during my failed marriage. Just as that song said, He's always there. He's always waiting for you. But at that time, I felt like God was one of those men that allowed me to be abused. So I didn't really understand who God was and what He was doing. But then I started getting into the Bible and I started understanding what God was. And I stopped relying on myself and what I was trying to do and try to fix and let Him help me. When I did this, I learned to forgive Him for nothing because He hadn't done anything wrong. See, I blamed God for everything that happened in my life, but really He's the one that was saving me through all of this and allowing me to make it to where I am today. When I relied on God and started allowing Him to take care of my life, I remember praying to Him and saying, "God, take care of me. I can't do it. Please show me what I'm supposed to do." Things got better. And this is where grace comes in. It wasn't shortly after this that I got married to a beautiful, beautiful wife. I don't deserve her. It's one of those things they say where you marry up, and I did. Then we had 3 amazing kids. And I don't deserve any of those. That's by God's grace. It wasn't nothing I did or nothing I could have done. It was God giving them to me. But we still had struggles. I still felt judged. She felt judged by our previous past. And we struggled a lot. In fact, after we got married, this blessing that God gave me, I almost lost. But then we found this church, the best church, I'll have to say, which I may be biased, but Life Point didn't just save my life, it saved my marriage. I didn't feel judgment. I felt love. I was able to learn about forgiveness through this church. I learned to love everyone that had hurt me, and I learned to love myself. While I was at Life Point, I learned about this place called CR that we had here on Wednesday nights. I started coming because I thought, well, like God always said, they need me. So I started coming thinking that I could help somebody. But God's got a good sense of humor. He showed me that I was the one that needed help. I found out that I was not alone. I found a new life. And I was able to give all of that past and all that pain to God that He had been trying to get from me all my life. but I would never let him have it. Romans 3:24 says this, all need to be made right with God by his grace, which is a free gift. They need to be made free from sin through Jesus Christ. See, I didn't deserve grace. I didn't deserve what God had given me. I don't deserve to be where I am right now. And there's nothing that I can do or work towards to get to where God's got me today. But he gave it to me anyway because of his grace. I want to go back to God now. After I realized I had to give grace, my life became better. All the hurts, like I said, fell away. The pain fell away. The struggles fell away from my past. I'm not saying my life's perfect. I still have struggles. They're just different struggles. I have self-worth issues sometimes. Sometimes I have patience, and sometimes I have anger. But with God's help, and I know to pray to him and give it to him, that's how I make it through each day. So what I learned through all this was about grace. If you haven't saw it, please go back and listen to Kelly's message that he did Sunday. It's an awesome message because it went right along with what God was telling me to talk about when I close here. And God had told me that through my life, I was ran by fear and condemnation, that I wasn't good enough, that I would never be good enough, that I would always be that person. And Kelly talked about how Mike Tyson intimidated people. Well, through my life, Satan was intimidating me. He was using those things to push me down. Even after I thought I had this great life, that I'd been blessed with my new wife and my 3 kids, I thought God was talking to me one night. And he had told me, he said, Daryl, look at everything I've given you and you still aren't worth anything. And I went out by myself and contemplated, why am I here again? Why am I doing this? And then I prayed to God and asked him why. And God said, that ain't me. That's Satan trying to intimidate you. I bawled and sat there and prayed. And then I went back home to my family that I love and that he loves. And it was all gone. See, God gives us love and grace. He doesn't give us fear and condemnation. So tonight, as I close, I want to ask you, who are you putting your trust in? Who are you listening to? Are you listening to the voice that's telling you you're not good enough? Are you listening to the voice that's telling you that you shouldn't be here, or you shouldn't be there, or you shouldn't be at church, or you shouldn't be watching this right now? Put that voice behind you. Give it to God and pray to him. If there is anyone that feels the way that I have felt, that is struggling right now and don't know where to reach, don't know who to find or who to look for or who to ask, please call the church. There's always someone that will help you, that can talk to you, and that will pray with you. That number is 417-991-2911. Thank you for joining us tonight.